This is Dave Julian. Here is a short little tutorial recording of how I use clipped layers in Photoshop. To begin with, I'm showing you here one of my composites called Captive Wishes. And what I've done is I've taken a butterfly and I've then added a layer above it that contains text from a Japanese book. And the clipping is what happens right here. That's when one layer is clipped to the pixel bounds, meaning the edges and shape of the layer beneath it. So this layer here, being the kanji book, is clipped to the layer below. I'm going to unclip it by holding down my Option key and clicking right between the two layers. And now you see the unclipped version of the book. Now, to illustrate how this is done, I'm going to switch off of this image and onto another one. Here I've isolated the butterfly and I've deleted the background, as you can see, because if I command click on the layer, on any layer, you'll always see the layer bounds, meaning the edges of all the pixels that are in that layer. What surrounds this is a little checkerboard that shows you the transparent parts of a layer. Yours may look different because I've reduced the size of my checkerboard to make it less obtrusive to me. So I'm going to now use Command D to drop the selection because we won't really need it for this exercise. I'm going to go to another document, which is just an old book that I took a photo of with my phone. And just for this exercise, I'm not going to do any work on the book. I'm just going to add it to the butterfly document. The way I do that, it can be done a couple of different ways. You can do Select All with Command A, copy and paste, or I'm going to back off of that, or you can do a drag where you drag the layer from one file onto the name of the document of another file, which brings it to the front. And then if you sort of pull your ghost image down here, then you know it's going to go in that position. You can also hold down the Shift key whenever you're doing a drag and paste or a drag and drop, and it'll always put your image in the center. Now, the book is covering the butterfly, so we really have no idea how we're sizing this. So the best thing to do is to lower the opacity, and the way I do it is to go up here on the layer panel to the word opacity and just mouse down on it and drag backwards to the left, and you can start to see your butterfly through it in this case. You can also see that the book's gutter doesn't match the center of the butterfly, and so what I would be doing as an illustrator is bringing that till it centers, because what I'm really after is to make it look as if the butterfly is actually a book. So now that I have that sized, if I want to, I can go back and bring the opacity back up, and here's where the action occurs. You can see my layers here, and you can see that if I hold down the Option key, which you can't see me doing, but I am doing it, I'm holding that down with my left hand. If I hover between the layers with the Option key held down, which is the same as Alt key on a PC, now you get a little bit of a drop arrow icon or a clipping icon right here. So I'm going to click. I'd be really careful what I click on here. There we go. You have to click slightly over the thumbnails, not over to where the eyeballs are like I was doing. So now you see the book is now overlaid perfectly exactly where the pixels are from the butterfly. And that's classic clipping. If I'm going to hold down the Option key and click again, it unclips. So that's the quick way to do it. Now, the second kind of clipping that I described in class was when you want to change the look of a layer by adding an adjustment layer. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom of the layers panel to this little half moon icon, and I'm going to, in this case, choose hue and saturation because I'm going to change the color of the book layer. And I don't want to change the color of the butterfly layer, so here's where clipping comes into play. Now, I can vary the color like this and use saturation and use lightness or darkness, or I'm going to hit the reset here. The other way is to use colorize, which already sets up these sliders to some degree, and it's a little different because what overlay does is it puts an even color across all the tones of what you're trying to colorize. The difference is that when I don't use colorize, all I'm doing is influencing the color, and it's not quite as strong a response. So I use colorize when I want to do this, and here you can change the intensity or saturation of the color, the darkness or lightness of that color. Notice the difference. And of course, the color itself by going along the color wheel with this slider. I'm going to go for green. I'll go for blue. I'm in a blue mood. I'm only kidding. Here is where you can clip this effect onto the layer beneath, which in this case is the book. Here's the clipping icon as shown in the Properties panel, and this is the same for any adjustment layer that you add from this part of the menu. I'm going to hit the clipping icon, and now you notice that this adjustment layer has clipped onto the textbook layer. I'm going to move this panel off to the side, and if I hid the textbook layer by turning off its visibility, you'll see that this clipping layer now occurs over the butterfly as well. See that? I'm turning the on-off button, and you can see that this adjustment affects the butterfly. But if I show this layer, then the butterfly doesn't get affected. The truth is, you can't see that because this hue saturation adjustment layer is affecting the only layer you can see, which is the textbook. But I can prove how this is working because every adjustment layer has a mask. And so I'm going to then split this butterfly by dragging a rectangular marquee and moving it so that the edge of it is right in the center. Again, I went up here to Selection, Rectangular Marquee, and then just drew a rough marquee around the butterfly's wing area. Now if I fill this mask with black, I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, and I'm going to choose foreground color because my foreground color is black. But if it wasn't, you could always just choose black or white right here. Remember, black in a mask conceals, so it eventually masks out whatever the layer is for the mask. So now you see that I've masked away the hue saturation adjustment layer. And if I brought down the opacity of the book layer, you'd see that the effect of clipping and masking that adjustment layer allows the true colors of that butterfly to come through. And this is really helpful because sometimes what we're doing is we're not really, let me just bring this all the way up to 100%, we're using an adjustment layer to change part of a layer, not all of it, the way we had done before I started masking this. So knowing that the mask can help you focus the work of an adjustment layer or any clipped layer into just a portion that's desired is important. So essentially what I've done is I've masked away the blue tint of the textbook. And you can draw with any drawing tool at all into your mask. So if I was to draw with full opacity of this brush here, whoops, what's going on here? Oh, that's right. I can't draw here while I have this selection active. So Command D or Select, Deselect gets rid of that. And now wherever I brush with black, I'm masking the effect of this blue adjustment layer. this hue saturation layer. So just know that you have total control at all times of exactly what part of any adjustment layer, or any clipped layer for that matter, is showing. I'm going to further prove that because I'm going to now add a mask to this layer, which is the textbook. And as I also brush into that layer, you can see that I'm revealing the pixels of the butterfly below. And that's proof of how masks work. Anywhere you brush black, 100% black, you completely hide or mask whatever pixels are on this layer. So very important to sort of slow down and look at what you're doing, and know that when you're going to mask a layer by putting black or white in, you have to make sure that you've selected the mask. You see the little white triangle, the white rectangle around it, the border, and not the layer. Because if you select the layer and you start brushing, you're actually brushing onto the layer. You can see it right here. One more little tip, and this is a big one for people who use Photoshop, and one that seldom people realize is present. These are very small little icons. It sometimes becomes difficult to see what's on them, especially if the object in that layer is quite small. You can go up into the little, what they call the hamburger or sub-menu or options menu in all of these panels and see what's there for you to do. There's a lot of cool things in here, and it's very helpful to be able to understand what's available to you in every panel by using this list. Down here, under panel options, we get to choose the size of these icons. And it really helps to change the size. Here I'm going to go to the middle size, and now you get much bigger icons. It's much easier to see what is in these layers. In addition to that, there's something even cooler, and it's called layer bounds. So see how the butterfly takes up a good portion of this space, but not all of it? Well, what if the butterfly was really, really small? Well, you wouldn't barely be able to see it very well even at this magnification of the icon. But if you go back up into that submenu and go to panel options again, you can change the thumbnail contents not to see the entire size of the document with each layer, but just what's on that layer. So when I click OK, watch what happens to the butterfly over here. It becomes much larger, meaning that anything that's in any layer is now going to fill up the icon. I'll prove it. I'll go and make a new empty layer. I'm not going to clip it this time, which of course changes the way everything's behaving. And I'm just going to take this brush and make a small shape here. Right? It takes up very little of the entire document's dimensions. But look how it appears on this layer icon. Now, strangely, it's really appearing in a very strange way because it's appearing black, which is weird. And the reason it's appearing black is because I actually painted black. But this is causing that to clip the book to that black area, just like we did the butterfly. So even though we're seeing this, what we've actually done is paint black. I'll remove the book so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to also Command Z, which removes what I've done. There we go. And I'll just draw a stripe here, and the same thing happens. So that's a bunch of different things in one little quick video, and I'm probably confusing you, but you can back up at any point and go to just the part about clipping if that's all you want to learn. In any event, I'm hoping that this helps you out, and I'm just going to sign off. Cheers.